In the middle of the galaxy, there was a school called the Galactic Academy. It was not just any school, it was the most advanced school in the universe, where students came from many planets, species, and star systems. The students there were proud, intelligent, and peaceful. They studied science, energy, history, and even sports, but not like Earth sports. Their sports included floating through zero-gravity fields, lifting crystal blocks with their minds, and competing in long races across magnetic platforms. Life at the Galactic Academy was quiet and controlled. The students followed rules, respected each other, and rarely argued. Every new student who came had to go through long testing and was usually from high-level planets that understood peace and logic. Then, one day, something strange happened. The main screen at the academy lit up in red. A message blinked on every device across the campus. Warning: new student arriving from Deathworld 395, also known as Earth. The message spread like wildfire. Students whispered in the halls. Teachers looked shocked. Even the older students with 3 hearts and 4 arms blinked nervously. Did they say Deathworld? One lizard-like student asked. I thought Earth was banned, said another with silver eyes. Why would anyone from that planet come here? In the teacher's office, a furry professor adjusted his glasses with shaking fingers. Earth. Humans. They don't belong here. Their planet is chaos. Hurricanes, wild animals, poison gases, wars. Another teacher with a crystal brain nodded. Yes, but this one passed the entry test. His results were unexpected. His intelligence, speed, endurance, all off the charts. We had no choice but to accept him. Still, the furry professor whispered, they are too dangerous. By the next day, the whole school knew. A human was coming, a real one, from Earth. The spaceship arrived at noon. It was small, old-looking, and scratched from many travels. Most of the students watched from their classroom windows or hid behind tall plants. They didn't want to be too close when the door opened. When it finally did, silence fell over the area. A boy stepped out. He looked normal, not a monster, not a beast. Just a tall, lean teenager with dark hair, a backpack, and a calm face. His clothes were simple, his steps were slow, and his eyes were sharp. Some aliens had expected him to growl or roar. Some thought he would break the ground with his steps, but he just stood there quietly looking around. Then he walked toward the school entrance like he didn't care about all the stairs. The security robot scanned him. Name? Jason, he said. Species? Human. Planet of origin? Earth. The robot paused, beeped, then said, Welcome to Galactic Academy, Jason. The doors opened. As Jason walked inside, the students backed away. Some held their breath. Others made space in the hall like he carried a disease. He didn't look at them. He walked straight, relaxed, as if he had done this 1,000 times before. Inside the student database, his profile updated. Jason Taylor, age 17 Earth years, planet Earth, special skills, endurance, combat instinct, reflexes, muscle density, enhanced, brain activity, 152% normal range, emotion control, stable. That evening, all the dorm rooms buzzed with conversations. You see him? He didn't even blink when he saw the security drones. My older brother told me Earth people are almost impossible to kill. They can survive fire, ice, radiation, even drowning. One student, a nervous green creature named Larka, asked, Do you think he's here to hurt us? No, replied her roommate. But I think he can if he wants to. The next morning was gym class. Normally, it was the most boring class of the day. The students didn't like to sweat or move too much. Most of them used their minds to play sports. But that day, everyone showed up early. Jason walked into the gym wearing simple black training clothes. He looked around and smiled a little. Nice place, he said. The coach, a tall, spider-shaped alien with 8 eyes, cleared his throat. Class, today we'll do basic tests. Speed, strength, balance. Our new student will join us. Jason nodded. The students were put into teams. No one wanted Jason on their team, but the coach made sure he wasn't left out. The first challenge was running across a gravity track. The gravity changed every few meters. Heavy, light, twisting, floating. Jason waited for his turn. The alien students tried their best. Some fell, others slowed down, and one even passed out under the heavy gravity zone. Then Jason stepped up. The coach raised a hand. "Are you ready?" Jason nodded. "Begin." He ran. Not just fast, not just smooth. He ran like he had done this all his life. When gravity increased, he pushed harder. When it twisted, he adjusted his balance instantly. When it flipped, he rolled mid-air and landed like a cat. The coach stared. His eyes twitched. Jason crossed the finish line faster than any other student in the history of the academy. Some students clapped slowly, others just stared. The second challenge was lifting strength. Each student had to lift a bar made of compressed starlight, heavier than anything on normal planets. Even strong alien species could only lift it a few inches. Jason waited again. When it was his turn, he walked up, bent his knees, and picked it up like a gym bag. No sweat, no sound, no shaking muscles. "Is this the heaviest you've got?" he asked. The coach's mouth opened, but no words came out. In the corner, a group of elite students whispered among themselves. One of them, the son of a powerful warlord from a distant galaxy, looked angry. "He's showing off. No, he's just human. I don't like him." After the class, Jason was walking toward the locker room when the warlord's son stepped in front of him. "Hey, Earth boy." Jason stopped. "Yeah? You think you're better than us?" Jason looked him in the eye. "No, I don't think. I just run fast, that's all." The warlord's son, whose name was Quarn, narrowed his eyes. "Fight me." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "Because I want to see what a Deathworlder really is." Jason sighed. "I really didn't want to hurt anyone today." That sentence spread like lightning across the school. Jason walked away, but the message was clear. He wasn't afraid. He just didn't want trouble. By the evening, rumors grew faster than the speed of light. He didn't even try. He lifted the starlight bar like it was paper. Quarn challenged him, and Jason didn't even flinch. "I heard he survived. A fall from a mountain on Earth when he was 10. I heard he fought a bear. I heard his planet has bears, volcanoes, storms, and snakes that bite through metal." In the professor's meeting room, the debate began again. "We should monitor him closely," said the crystal-brained professor. "He might be a danger," said the furry one. "But he hasn't broken any rule," said the old green one. "He's just different." One teacher added, "He hasn't even spoken much. No anger, no threats, no pride, just silence." The truth was, Jason didn't want attention. In his dorm room, he sat alone, looking out the window. He missed Earth. He missed his little sister, his parents, the cold air, the smell of the ocean. He didn't come to this school to show off. He came because he had nowhere else to go. Back on Earth, nobody believed in him. He wasn't special. He was always told he was too quiet, too strange. But here, things were different. And he knew, deep inside, that these aliens were afraid of the wrong thing. It wasn't his strength. It was his will. The next day, the gym class had one final challenge: reaction speed. Students had to dodge laser pulses from small bots. Most managed to avoid a few. Jason's turn came. The bot activated. Lasers flashed. Jason didn't move. Instead, he stepped forward, slowly, dodging every beam with perfect timing. Left, down, turn, step, duck, leap. Even the camera bots couldn't keep up. When the test ended, the bot simply shut down. It had nothing left to throw. Everyone stood in silence. Jason looked at the coach. "Can I go now?" The coach nodded slowly. As Jason walked away, one small alien turned to his friend and whispered, "He doesn't talk much, does he?" "No," his friend replied, "but I think he doesn't need to." Later that night, Quarn punched his locker. "He made me look weak." A shadow in the corner spoke. "Then do something about it." Quarn turned. "Who are you?" The shadow stepped into the light. a dark-robed figure from the forbidden houses. "Have a way," the figure said, "but it won't be safe." "I don't care," Quarn growled. "I want to see him fall." The figure smiled. "Good. Then let's see what happens when a Deathworlder is truly tested." Jason walked through the academy halls with his head down, his backpack resting against one shoulder. The lights overhead hummed softly, and the walls around him glowed with clean, quiet energy. But silence wasn't peace here, it was fear. Every student he passed took a step back. Some whispered. Others froze. They acted like he was made of fire or something worse. He didn't blame them. He had already seen the way they looked at him in class, the way they stared when he moved faster, ran harder, lifted more. To them, he wasn't just new. He was something else, something unknown. Jason didn't want to stand out. He didn't want to prove anything, but it didn't matter now. The whispers had turned into stories, and those stories were growing faster than he could walk. Behind him, someone stepped quietly. He heard it even though they tried to hide it. His senses, sharpened from growing up in Earth's chaos, caught every detail. 3 students were following him. Not just any students. He recognized Quarn's friends, tall, armored, and proud. The kind who didn't like to be embarrassed. And after yesterday's gym class, Quarn had more than enough reason to feel that way. Jason turned a corner and kept walking toward the back garden area. It was empty this time of day, quiet and full of strange plants from other worlds. A place meant for reflection and calm. The perfect place to be alone. Or cornered. He didn't stop walking. He didn't change direction. But he knew what was coming. When he stepped into the garden, the footsteps behind him grew louder. He stopped near a glowing blue tree and finally turned. All 3 of them stood a few feet away. Their expressions flat, but their posture ready. They didn't carry weapons, they didn't need to. These students had claws, psychic tools, or energy strength built into their bodies. Jason had nothing but his hands. Still, he didn't step back. "Can I help you with something?" he asked calmly. The tallest one, green skin with bone plates, spoke first. "You made our friend look like a fool." Jason tilted his head. "I didn't do anything. He asked for a challenge. I said no. You embarrassed him just by existing." Jason blinked. "That's not my fault." The second one stepped forward. "You don't belong here. This school is for intelligent life forms, peaceful learners, not whatever you are." Jason's jaw tightened slightly. "So you want to teach me a lesson?" There was no answer. Only 3 silent stances. Jason didn't move. He didn't raise his voice. He just sighed softly. "You're afraid," he said. "You think if I stay here, everything will change." The third student, shorter but glowing with inner energy, answered, coldly, "You're not wrong." Jason looked at the tree behind him, its soft light bathing his skin. "Back home I was nobody. Just another face in a crowd. But here you act like I'm a problem just for being human. I didn't ask for this attention, I didn't ask for fear." The 3 students shifted. Jason looked back at them. "But let me tell you something. I survived Earth. That means I know how to deal with pressure. Not the kind you measure with machines. The kind that never lets you rest. Every day is uncertain. Every choice matters. I learned to read people faster than I learned to read books. I learned to act before thinking got me hurt. You want to know why I run faster, why I react quicker? It's not magic, it's survival. Earth made me this way." The garden was silent again. Then, without warning, one of them made a move. Jason ducked before the swing reached him. He didn't fight back. He only shifted his body and stepped aside. The second came in with a psychic pulse. Jason dropped low, felt it fly over him like heat. The third tried to trap him in a box of hard light. He rolled forward, fast and clean, landing on his feet. He stood tall and looked them in the eye. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "But if you come at me, again you won't like the result. Not because I'm angry, but because I've been through worse." There was no shout, no blast of power. Just that calm voice. that quiet certainty. The three students looked at each other, unsure now. Jason turned his back and walked away, never looking behind him. Up in the control room, someone had watched everything. A professor stood behind a screen, arms folded. His face was unreadable. The other professors had wanted Jason gone, but this one, he wasn't so sure anymore. In the following days, the tension didn't fade. More students avoided him. Some watched him with wide eyes. But a few began to wonder. They began to ask questions not just about him but about Earth. A small group of curious minds started reading Earth's records. They saw oceans filled with danger, skies that changed mood without warning, mountains that erupted, creatures that hunted with teeth, venom, and silent steps. They saw people who adapted to everything, and then they looked at Jason again, not with fear this time, but with a strange, new feeling, respect. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the academy, something was shifting. A message had been sent to a hidden council. A warning. The Deathworlder is here, and he may not be alone. Jason didn't know that yet. He just sat in the library, reading about alien history, trying to learn more. His mind was sharp, curious, always moving. But deep inside, something stirred, a quiet feeling that someone was watching, not a student, not a professor, something else, something older. He closed the book and looked up, but the room was empty, at least for now. The air inside the Galactic Academy was always the same, cool, clean, and still, but today it felt different. Not just to Jason, to everyone. He woke up early before the automated lights turned on. He sat on the edge of his bed staring at the floor. There was a feeling he couldn't shake, like the world around him was holding its breath. Not fear this time. Not tension, something quieter, like the calm before something bigger. Outside his dorm room, the halls were quiet. Too quiet. Jason walked toward the cafeteria, expecting whispers or stares, but there were none. The students who usually avoided him weren't even around. That's when he noticed it. The hall monitors, normally floating bots that blinked softly and made gentle tones, were missing. Not a single one hovered in sight. The lights above flickered for the first time since he'd arrived. Jason paused. His instincts kicked in. Not panic, but awareness. He scanned the hallway, not with fear, but with calm attention. Something was off. At the end of the corridor, the entrance to the council wing was closed, locked. Usually it was open, guarded only by a single energy field. Now it was sealed shut. Jason turned back, deciding to head to the library. As he walked, he passed a window and glanced outside. That's when he saw them. 2 ships, not school transports. These were different, darker, smoother, with markings he didn't recognize. They hovered above the academy silently, without blinking lights or open ports. They didn't move, but their presence made his skin crawl. Inside the library, a student noticed him and whispered, "Did you see the ships?" Jason nodded. "They say they're from the Outer System Council, sent to, observe." "Observe what?" The student leaned closer. "You." Jason didn't respond. He walked past the tables toward the archive wall. The data pads there held knowledge from 1,000 planets. He tapped one and searched the words Deathworld Registry. The results blinked in. He scrolled. Earth sat near the top of the list, not because it was deadly to others, but because it was deadly to itself. Every natural element was unpredictable. Every species competed for survival. Humans weren't stronger than other species, but they had one thing others didn't. Adaptation. Jason stared at the screen for a moment longer. He wasn't here to remind everyone how dangerous Earth was. He was here to remind them that humans learned, faster than most, and grew from it. He closed the pad and turned around, just as a message blinked onto every screen in the academy. All students to the main dome. Mandatory announcement. Jason made his way there, passing more students than he expected. No one spoke to him, but a few looked at him with curiosity now. A shift was happening, slowly. The main dome was massive, with floating seats and a glass ceiling that showed the stars above. Professors stood at the front, faces serious. In the middle of the stage stood a group of strangers in long, dark robes. Visitors. The central figure stepped forward. His voice echoed calmly. "We are representatives of the Outer System Council. We are here to investigate the presence of a student whose origin planet is considered high risk under intergalactic standards." Everyone knew who he meant. Jason stood in the back, hands in his pockets, unmoved. "We have reason to believe this student may be part of something larger. A test. A signal." Students around him glanced his way. No one stepped close. "We request a private review. No judgment. Only observation." Jason finally stepped forward. "I'm not hiding," he said, his voice clear. "You can ask whatever you want." The crowd parted silently as he walked toward the front. One of the robed figures studied him closely. "You are not afraid?" Jason met his gaze. "Should I be?" The figure didn't answer. He simply turned and gestured. "Follow us." Jason did. They led him into a small chamber beneath the dome. A room with no windows, only soft lights and a circular platform. "Stand there," one said. Jason stepped onto the platform. A soft hum began. Around him, invisible sensors scanned every part of his body, his thoughts, his memories. He felt it, not pain, but pressure, like someone was digging through his mind slowly. Then something strange happened. The platform flickered. A burst of unreadable data flashed across the monitors. The robed figures paused. "What is this?" One asked. Another answered, his memory shielding. "It's not technological." Jason looked at them calmly. "It's just how we're built." They ran the scan again. More data appeared, some of it impossible. Moments of emotional stress beyond safe limits. Environments no other species survived in, but Jason had. The lead observer leaned closer. "You're not enhanced. You're not modified. You were born like this?" Jason nodded. "All of us are." They stared in silence. Then one of them whispered, "If even one human can do this, then what happens when more arrive?" Jason didn't smile. He didn't move. He only said, "You're asking the wrong question." The observer frowned. "Then what's the right one?" Jason looked at the glowing panels. "What happens when we stop being afraid of each other?" There was silence. The council ended. The scan. But the feeling lingered. In the back of their minds, they knew Earth wasn't just a danger. It was a warning of something stronger than power. Endurance. As Jason returned to his dorm, something inside the Academy's deeper levels stirred. A file long hidden had unlocked. A signal had gone out, not to Earth, but to something else. A voice, quiet and mechanical, repeated a phrase. "Subject accepted. Phase 2 ready." Jason stopped in the hall. He didn't know why. But for the first time, he felt like someone, or something, was waiting. And it had just woken up. Jason woke up with a sound in his ears. A low hum, almost like a heartbeat, but not his own. It pulsed through the walls, through the floor, even through the air. When he opened his eyes, the room looked the same. Quiet, still, but something had shifted. Outside, the academy buzzed with movement, but not the usual kind. Teachers walked quickly, their heads down. Students whispered in corners. Lights flickered, in patterns that hadn't been seen before. Something had changed since the scan yesterday. Jason walked into the corridor, his steps slow and focused. Everyone seemed to notice him now, but not like before. This wasn't fear. It was something else, uncertainty mixed with interest. The kind of attention given to a storm forming on the horizon. As he passed a group of alien students, one of them, Tessel, a student known for being quiet and brilliant, stopped him. "There's a room opening," she said. Jason looked at her. What kind of room? It's called the core chamber. It's never been accessed by students before, not even most professors know what's inside. Why now? She hesitated. Because of you. Jason didn't ask how she knew. He just followed her through the winding halls, past restricted sections that had recently been unlocked. As they walked, he noticed the academy itself responding. Walls shifted subtly. Lights changed direction as if guiding him. It was as though the structure wasn't just a building. It was aware. At the end of the hallway, a massive door stood open. No guards, no barriers, just silence. Inside, the core chamber was unlike anything Jason had seen before. The room was circular, stretching far above his head with symbols carved deep into the walls, some familiar, others ancient and unreadable. In the center, a pedestal glowed softly. On it sat a device, small and smooth, shaped like a spiral shell. Tessil. Didn't step in. It's waiting for you. Jason walked forward, each step echoing. As he approached the device, it lit up brighter. A soft voice, not spoken but felt, entered his mind. Identity confirmed. Human origin. Access granted. Jason froze. He hadn't said anything. He hadn't touched anything. But it knew him. The pedestal shifted, revealing a holographic map of the galaxy. Lines connected distant points, some blinking rapidly. One of the blinking lights pulsed over Earth. Another pulsed here. The voice returned. Earth, category Delta Prime, evolution active. First signal received, trial phase approved. Jason took a step back. Trial? What trial? But the device didn't answer with words. Instead, images appeared, visions of other students, not just from this academy, but across the galaxy. Some were being trained, others were being watched. All of them different. They were like him. Each had come from worlds labeled dangerous or unstable. Each had survived conditions others could not. And now they were being quietly tested, not for war, not for power, for potential. Jason reached out and touched the map. Suddenly everything changed. The room darkened and a memory flooded his mind. Not his own. A vision from centuries ago. A group of ancient beings, not from Earth, gathering in secret. They spoke of a future where the galaxy would need more than tradition and technology. It would need something stronger, resilience, species that could face chaos and still move forward. That's when they created the core network, a hidden test, a way to find the ones who could lead when everything else failed. And Earth had been on their list from the beginning. Jason stepped back as the vision faded. The device dimmed. He turned to leave. But at the doorway, a familiar face waited. Professor Venn, the same professor who had silently watched him since the first day. You activated it, Venn said softly. Jason nodded. I didn't mean to. You were always meant to. Jason frowned. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because the choice had to be yours. You had to walk the path, not be pushed onto it. Jason looked back at the now quiet pedestal. What happens now? Venn stepped into the room, voice calm but deep with meaning. Now others will start waking up too. Not just students. Old systems, old secrets. And not everyone will welcome the change. Jason took a breath. Then we help them understand. Venn nodded. If they're willing to listen. They both left the chamber together. Outside, the academy seemed quieter, but beneath that stillness, something was moving. The galaxy had turned its attention to Earth and to Jason, not because he was the strongest, not because he was the smartest, but because he refused to give up. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, a second signal had just been received. Another, human, was about to awaken. The halls of the Galactic Academy buzzed with quiet excitement, but for Jason, the day began with a restless mind. The knowledge from the core chamber still weighed on him like a silent shadow. He knew the awakening he'd triggered was only the beginning. Others like him, Other humans were out there scattered across the galaxy waiting to rise. As he walked toward the training grounds, he noticed the usual crowd had shifted. Some students avoided his gaze, while others watched with a mix of curiosity and respect. The academy itself seemed to pulse with new energy, as if it sensed the coming change. Jason stepped onto the training field, the open sky stretching above him with unfamiliar stars. The field was usually filled with exercise and friendly challenges, but today the air was thick with anticipation. A voice called out, "Jason." He turned to see Tessel running toward him, eyes wide with urgency. "They found one," she said, barely able to catch her breath. Another human near the outer colonies. Jason's heart beat faster, but he kept his voice steady. "What do we know?" "Not much. The colonies sent a distress signal, something about unusual activity and rapid adaptation. The Outer System Council is moving in quietly. They don't want to panic." Jason nodded. "I'm going." Tessel looked worried. "It's dangerous. We don't know what we're dealing with." Jason smiled faintly. "That's why I'm going." The journey to the outer colonies was swift but tense. As the ship neared the planet, Jason gazed out at the swirling blue and green surface below. This world was wild, untouched by most civilizations, the kind of place where only the strong or the adaptable survived. When they landed, the scene was strange. The colony was intact, but the people were different, faster, smarter. They moved with a confidence that unsettled even the seasoned council observers. Jason walked among them, feeling the pulse of their energy. They were like him, born of a world that demanded more than survival. They had evolved. A colony leader approached him, eyes sharp. "You're the newcomer, the one they sent?" Jason nodded. "I'm here to help." "To understand." The leader studied him. "Then you need to see this." He led Jason to a research lab filled with strange equipment. On a screen, data flowed, growth rates, metabolic changes, cognitive leaps. The colonists were changing faster than science predicted. Jason leaned closer. "How?" "Unknown," the leader said. "But it's happening everywhere. Humans are adapting, quickly, quietly, and sometimes dangerously." Jason frowned. "Dangerously?" The leader nodded. "Some changes are uncontrolled. We've had incidents, systems failing, power surges, unexpected bursts of strength." Jason's mind raced. This wasn't just adaptation. It was evolution, accelerated. Back on the ship, Jason stared at the stars, thinking, if this was happening in one colony, how many more were waking up? How long before the galaxy could no longer ignore what Earth had sent into the stars? Suddenly, the ship's alarm beeped. Tessel's voice came over the comm, tense. "Sensors detect multiple ships approaching fast, unknown signatures." Jason's eyes narrowed. "Prepare for arrival." The ships appeared on the scanner, sleek, silent, but unmistakably military. Not the Outer System Council. Something else. Jason stood firm. "They're coming for us." The sky outside darkened as the new ships moved closer. Jason looked at Tessel. "We need to be ready." This was more than a test now. It was a challenge, one that would decide not just the fate of humans at the Academy, but of every world watching from the shadows. And Jason was ready. Because humans didn't just survive chaos, they thrived in it. The tension in the air was almost electric. The approaching ships cut through the void like silent shadows, their sleek shapes blocking out stars as they closed in on the colony. Jason stood at the command deck of the Academy's vessel, eyes sharp, mind racing. This was no routine inspection or diplomatic mission. These ships carried a message, one of challenge and maybe more. The captain beside him, a calm but experienced alien named Sarn, broke the silence. "They are unidentified, but their formation is precise. Military grade, no doubt. This is a coordinated approach." Jason nodded slowly. "Then we meet them, head on." The bridge lights dimmed as the vessel powered up its defenses, shields humming softly. Outside, the void remained dark, save for the advancing fleet. Jason's heart beat steady, not from fear, but from a deep sense of purpose. Suddenly, the lead ship sent a signal. No words, only a sequence of symbols flashing in an ancient code. The Academy's system struggled to decode it. Jason leaned forward. Patch it through to the linguists. We need answers. Minutes passed. The symbols translated into a simple phrase. Return the anomaly. Earth's children are not welcome. Jason's eyes narrowed. They want us gone. They fear what we represent. Sarn's voice was steady. Then we show them we won't leave. The ship's communications opened a channel. Jason's voice came through firm and clear. We are not anomalies. We are the future. You can choose to fear us or you can choose to understand. Static buzzed before the response came, cold and unyielding. Understanding requires surrender. Jason clenched his fists. We will never surrender. The fleet moved closer, their intentions clear, but Jason wasn't alone anymore. From the Academy, ships began to emerge, piloted by other humans who had awakened, other species who believed in coexistence. The training they had received, the trials they had faced, it all led to this moment. The sky lit up with movement as both fleets faced off. But it wasn't just a battle of weapons. It was a battle of wills, of ideas, of survival. Jason's thoughts drifted briefly to Earth, the chaotic, unpredictable world where humanity had learned to adapt and endure. That spirit burned inside every human present, lighting their courage. The first ship from their side launched toward the enemy, not with weapons, but with a pulse of energy, a call to peace disguised as strength. The pulse spread, a wave of light and sound that carried a message. We are here to coexist. The opposing fleet hesitated. From the bridge, a transmission crackled through. They're listening. Jason saw his chance. Open channels. Let's talk. The lead enemy ship's commander appeared on the screen, a figure cloaked in shadow, voice calm but firm. You speak of coexistence, yet your presence threatens order. Jason met the gaze. Order built on fear is fragile. We offer resilience. For long moments, silence hung. Then slowly the enemy commander nodded. Very well. We will watch. But know this, any threat will be met with force. Jason nodded. And any ally will be met with respect. The fleets pulled back, tension easing but never fully gone. The galaxy had witnessed a turning point, not in war, but in understanding. Back on the Academy ship, Jason exhaled deeply. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time it felt possible, because humans weren't just survivors or fighters. They were bridges, between worlds, between fears, between futures. And Jason was ready to lead that bridge. The stars outside twinkled as if in agreement.